Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's April 14th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And just a reminder that tomorrow is Good Friday. The markets are closed, so no trading tomorrow. Um, I won't be in the office myself personally, so this is going to wrap up our week. But let's. I thought I'd start by showing you the daily chart. You can see that we didn't get any follow through on this bullish-looking candle. And that's kind of what you would expect with an inside bar like that. Um, we got to see if we get maybe we'll get another test of the support area and it'll hold and turn prices up. But there's no rejection here yet, so this looks like acceptance of prices at this level. So we may be headed lower. We'll just have to see how it works out. But that's where we stand as of now. We'll just wait and see if we test this breakout area again, and maybe go from there. You can see the low there is 43.84 and it's 43. So we didn't quite, we made a, so far, I mean, the market's about to close any minute. So it looks like we're, it's a slightly higher close than this close, but I don't think that means much at this point. So it kind of looks like an equal close there, but uh, it looks like the market's still moving. So there might be another 20 or 30 seconds left, but I don't think we're going to see anything much different than what you see right here. So that's what we're looking at. I think we're still in a downtrend as of now. We're still correcting, and so we'll see what this has to bring. Could be just that nobody wanted to go into a long 3-day weekend long with all the craziness going on right now, and maybe we come in Monday and this thing rallies like crazy. We'll have to see. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart and we'll take a look at the day. Okay, and here's a look at our intraday chart. We really started off in this range and we got really a perfect measured leg down before we bounced, and then it looks like this channel. It's like a spiking channel down is what we have. This light blue is a you've got your spike down, and then we went into this channel, and you can clearly see that channel's valid. So that's the way I saw the day. Of course, I did pay attention up until this point. It really, even though you confirmed your channel right here, it still kind of looked like we were going to have a range day. But then you can see we turned down right off that key entry point again, and prices didn't stop going lower until they bounced off the lower side of it, and they even just kind of crawled down that trend channel line for a little while. So of course that's well after 2:30, so it doesn't matter anyway. But let's zoom in and we'll go through the trades. Once again, there's a we kind of go sideways and then there's a nice move, but there's not always a setup. It's some tough trading right now. So somebody actually wrote to me today and says, hey, I went live and I was having some really good couple of months there, and then all of a sudden the last month I've just gone just all downhill. And the problem is this is hard trading. It's, even though we're trending, it's not a consistent trend, and there's lots of choppy sideways action, and then all of a sudden you'll have prices will zoom in one way or the other, and then it's choppy, and then it zooms, and so there's just a lot of that, or else it's just straight down and there's no setups. So it's just tough trading right now. It'll get better. There'll be good days and bad days, and some days it feels like taking candy from a baby, and the next day, I mean, you just don't hardly see any trades, and that's kind of, I mean, there's one trade here right around 7 o'clock, and then you don't get another one till almost 8:30 or at 8:30, and then maybe another one, and then you got to sit there and wait. And here's one at 9. It's low. It's not, it's just tough trading. So if you're having a hard time, just remember, we're not here to take trades. We're here to make money. So sometimes you have to sit for an hour or two and you just don't get a trade, but that's what separates a good trader from a losing trader. The good traders just say, hey, it's been 2 hours, I haven't seen anything I wanted to take, and yeah, a couple of them I considered took off without me, but it still wasn't a good setup, so I did the right thing. And that's why you have to look at it. But if you just consistently look at it as if, hey, uh, you know, I got to take a trade. I haven't seen anything for an hour. And your new traders, they're trying to take a trade on every swing, and they don't have a clue. And they probably read some book or read some internet forums, and somebody gave them some pin bar strategy or some craziness like that, and then they wonder why it, doesn't work, and that's because that stuff doesn't work. I'm sorry. If you don't know, you see pin bars in every direction. If it's not a pin bar in the right direction, you better not take it. That's all I can tell you. So anyway, let's talk about the trades. I'm sorry. 7 o'clock came just as we're bottoming out, and if it wasn't for this inside bar, I'd say, hey, you might take that trade, and you may still take that trade anyway. I mean, it's right at 7 o'clock, so you don't want to get yourself in a losing trade right out of the gate. It is a second entry. It is a very bullish bar. You're a long way away from the EMA. Most breakouts fail. The problem is you got one leg down here, so you'll probably get another equal leg down, and you can see we didn't quite make an equal leg, and then we got this huge rally, and that's usually what happens. If you don't quite make the target, you'll get a bigger move in the other direction, and there it is. But you may take that trade, but this is a failure. Notice the new high. You tried to go higher once, twice, and you're not really looking for failures in a downtrend, or I'm sorry, in a range kind of sideways here, but we've already pushed lower here, and so we're making lower lows and lower highs. So I believe we started trending again on this break higher right here. And so the fact that we pushed so much lower, and you can kind of see we're making lower lows and lower highs right down through here. And so I like that trade. Just you're trying to get a scalp out of it, and hey, and if you're lucky, you get you get this measured leg down after it, and you got close. And then it bounced, and there's just no way. This is the only trade you might consider, and I didn't put it on here, but you can clearly see the congestion across there. But really what's happening here is the market's so strong on this rally that prices are just moving back to the trend line, and they can't really correct. They just go sideways. But it's still a little bit, but that failed break lower, and when it turns and goes up, I don't think I would wait to go long here, and I'm a little nervous about using a entering on engulfing bar right into these highs where it's turned down so many times. But you can see the midline was holding, and then that trap, so it's one you might consider. A lot of momentum in that move, and then suddenly it just ran out of steam, and boom, bottom falls out. But I like this high just because you made the high, then you tested it once there, and you turned down and turned back up, and there's a little break higher right there. That far away from the EMA, even though this channel is still valid, it's a long way back to the trend line, and so you should get your scalp out of that, especially with that little trap there. And notice you got a double top here, and then you try to go higher once, twice. I like this one as a failure. It's not a perfect setup. It doesn't quite get back to the EMA, so I did mark it green. But it is a reversal pattern where you would probably expect to see one. And then there's that's a nice signal bar right there. It's really tempting to take that. But with it being so close to those lows, so far away from the EMA, I just think you're better off to skip it. And then, of course, we make a couple of swings down. We get a break. 2 legs up to a new high, and then we turn down again. And this is actually a new swing, a double bottom here, so you treat that like a new swing, and you get a first entry and then a second entry short, and there's plenty of room back to the EMA, and this is played out. You got a break and new high, and you can see there's clearly, even though there's more than 2 breaks here on the count, it's clearly 2 swings back. And it really makes a double top across there too. And so I like that trade. You don't know that it's going to take off like that, but you should get an easy scalp and maybe a 2 or 3 point runner out of it. Whatever you got back to the EMA and probably back down to here. Prices were probably coming back to test this again, but it doesn't hold this time, and boom, off it goes. And then you just start meandering higher here. It's very weak. I definitely wouldn't enter long below the CMA here, and then we're just kind of chopping back and forth. This one's tempting to go long. If you took that one, it's probably okay. But we did just have that overshoot. And so I'm a little leery of that trade right there. There's a new swing low, so it's a first entry, second entry, so you could treat it like a failure. Maybe I should mark it green. It's a little aggressive, but it's a possibility. And this could be a newer high, but unfortunately, you got to go long right into the trend channel, and we just had an overshoot, so I'm real leery of that one. Very leery. And you see it doesn't go far, and it turns back down. I don't see any reason to go short there, but then you get a triple test. Notice the low, test it once, test it twice, and it is a second entry. A little bit of room back to the EMA. There's a higher low here, but when this didn't go on any further than that, I wouldn't risk entering again because you probably weren't out of this trade yet, depending on how you entered it. If you entered it with a buy stop, I don't think you'd be out of that trade yet. But then it pushes higher, pulls back, and gives you the failure. And if you weren't already in yet, definitely get in there. The failure. This is the signal bar, so the arrow goes below it, and your safety stop goes below it. But you enter one tick above this bar, the green bar. So that would be where it fails, one tick above that bar. So that's where you'd actually put your buy stop if you're anticipating a failure there. And after a break, it does run to a new high, and it corrects back. And it bounces again off of the support here, and it's a really nice signal bar. It's a little congested though, so I'm not crazy about it. And you see it did break higher and turn lower. It almost, it got close to, and that's probably hard to ride out. A lot of weak traders would throw in the towel before they lost even more, and next thing you know, it goes exactly where you thought. So that's why I'm always telling people, don't monkey with your trades. If you like the read and you still like it and it looks like a good setup, just go with the flow, because you can't. Really, the main thing is you got to do the same thing every time, because if you try and pick and choose, you'll get it wrong every time. It's just kind of like the law of trading. If you try and pick and choose, you're going to get it wrong most of the time. So then we just head back up to the upper side. There's no really entries here. I don't think you want to go long right there after just coming off the highs. And then we test this a few times. I marked this one short. I'm not crazy about it. It's an engulfing bar. If you're going to trade it, you just about have to trade it that way, because if you wait till here, the stem doesn't end up very nice. It's still bearish. So I'm not crazy about that entry, but obviously we've tested that area across there multiple times. Then we actually come up and test it again, but no setup there. We test it again, and finally you get another bar that sets up, and that one's pretty bearish, and you got a little room this time, and that turns out to be a pretty nice trade. And of course we bounce, and notice how we bounced early. We didn't get back down there, so we'll probably go higher this way, and that's what happens. And you actually get a triple test here, but I don't like entering on that engulfing bar in congestion. When you're still looking for a new high anyway. And that is right off the main key entry point. So if you could have got a setup here, it would have been nice, but you just don't get one, and the bottom just drops out. And then you're just working sideways. There is a failure here after a break in new low. It's an inside bar. It does have matching lows. It's another one you could consider. I didn't mark it. I didn't like it in real time because there wasn't, you can see we've been kind of turning down at the midline there, and there's just, you're right at the midline. So but it does run up, gives you a failed breakout. And again, I did not mark that one because we just failed out this range here, and we're real close to the midline, so we could go higher from here. So I think you got to wait on a lower high here, and you don't get one. It makes a higher high low, and then it turns down, and you don't get an entry. I did mark this one. Notice your new high. You try to go higher once, twice. It's not back to the EMA, but you can clearly see this looks like a key entry point down through here. And that is the first touch. You actually touched it here, you touched it here, and then it tries to go higher again, and then this is a confirmation of it. A very bearish bar, and this is a first entry, second entry, a failed second entry. Normally you want that to be off the EMA, but because you got that trend line there and it's holding, well, that's enough to say, hey, maybe this is worth risking. Just make sure you got enough room to get out between here. Otherwise, you have to use a limit order. And it drops on down. It gives you a second entry here, but there's just not much room there. It looks sideways. And then it gives you a lower high, but again, we've bounced there 3 times, so who's to say we won't bounce there again? So I don't think you can take it. And then of course we finally break and trade higher. You get your break, attempted a new high, and you get such a big bearish bar. I really thought we would come back down and test the lows down here again. I was surprised it bounced. It took it a while, but it just went higher. The buyer, for some reason, buying just started coming back in right here, and you can clearly see that the sellers are trying. But I like this in real time, and it was a quick, easy scalp, and I think I had my runner right here, and I think it bounced off of it and went higher, and I thank goodness I closed mine, didn't and took what I could get before it would have stopped me out at break even on my runner. And I don't see anything that really entices me to want to enter back to the long side here. Then we run all the way back up. Again, you've got a bearish signal bar, but there's just so much stem on that thing right there. So it's close. Maybe you take a chance on that because that trend line is well confirmed and it's turned prices down every time. So maybe you risk it. And there's actually a first entry long and you go lower and then you try to go higher again. So that's technically a second entry. So that's like a failure, but it's not at a place you really want to trade a failure. It's too close to the EMA. If it was a little further away from the EMA or on this side of the EMA, the lower side, I'd say yeah, maybe. But I looked at this like 2 legs down and this being the second entry and that being your failure. So and you can see, boom, that worked out perfectly. And you get a runner on this trade, and you could ride this all the way down. So this was a nice setup. It's not real clear. It's a little advanced, a little more convoluted, but it's there. You can clearly see there's a leg down, and there's a little 2-legged correction, and there's a second leg down. So on a bigger picture, you probably got a second entry right here, or a second entry long right here, and that's a failure. So that's how I looked at that. We dropped on down. You get a break. You get a channel up, a break, new high, and that's a second entry short. Very bearish bar. And that's another good trade. Takes you right into the close. And there's a lower high right here, but you can't really, we've moved too far, and it's not really a true failure. So I just don't, that late in the day, I wouldn't risk that trade. And that's what I saw today. That's how I saw it. So, and there's probably some others in there you could argue to be green. It's just one of those kind of days where it's just not, I mean, there's a clear trend working down here, but look at all the sideways stuff. And then there's a big move, and then just sideways choppy, and then a big move. And then it just does that over and over and over. So it's just not a very easy day to trade. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for the day, wrap up the week, and I won't be back till Monday. So hope you had a good week and hope you have a great Easter holiday and enjoy the time off, the extra day, a long weekend, and I'll see you Monday. But anyway, I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.